Oh my goodness. And there it is. Wow, get this in to go.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Bowl TV for continued coverage of the 2021 U.S. Women's Open from Double Decker Lanes in Rohnert Park, California. My name is Aaron Smith with Bowl TV, and we are ready for B Squad to hit the lanes for their first round of qualifying. We got to see A Squad compete a little bit earlier today. Cherie Tan, the standout player in the field from A Squad, leading the way as we get underway here. Let's first head out to the lanes as the very first shots are going to be traveling down the lane here for our competitors here on B Squad. We'll get you a rundown of the standings as more. We're back on our 36-foot condition. So we saw Sydney Brummett was really the standout in the early going of the A Squad earlier today. Using urethane, got off to a real fast start, shot 776 right out of the gates, but ended up finding some struggles toward the back end of the block, having to switch out of urethane to reactive. So we're kind of curious to see if we see a couple more players try that in the early going and then try to manage it as the block goes on, or will it be a little bit of a mix of things we saw from the round earlier today? We see Shayna Ung right there going with urethane. That one unfortunately misses a little bit wide of target. She's going to be joined over on lanes 25 and 26 by Stephanie Johnson and Maria Bolanova, and then over on 27 and 28 to start things off here. It's going to be Deandra Asbeatty, Daphne Tan, and Christy Leon. But of course, here on BowlTV.com, you are able to watch every pair in play. So very awesome opportunity to check it out. Follow your favorite athlete as they make their journey through the U.S. Women's Open. First, hoping to make the top 24 after 3 rounds, and hopefully the CBS Sports Network final on this upcoming Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then finally, one player going to be taking home $100,000, the first 6-figure payday in professional women's bowling history, up for grabs at Double Decker Lanes this week. So as we settle in here, we're going to get going. This is an 8-game block. We'll run down the scores from earlier, talk a little bit about who's on the squad as well, who you can expect to see out on the lanes today here on Bowl TV from the U.S. Women's Open. So we're going to go ahead, take it full screen. As we get going. So taking a look at the overall standings. I mentioned Cherie Tan, the talented left-hander, 2-time PWBA Tour champion, leading the way. Plus 166 for her 8-game block, a 220.75 average. Cherie had 3 games of 181 along the way in games 1, game 3, and game 8 of her block. The good news, though, for Cherie is when she didn't shoot 181, all of her other games were at least 231 or higher. So it was kind of a tale of different games here. So 231, 233, 268, 245, and 246. So when Cherie was on, she was on. When she wasn't quite happy with the pair, she shot 181. So that's how round one went for Cherie on her way to the top of the leaderboard. Erin McCarthy had a real nice block as well, just one game under 200, plus 132, sits in second place overall. She's had some success at this event in the past couple of years. Back-to-back third place finishes in 17 and 18, I believe. Looking to capitalize on those previous successes on the lanes. 2018 champion Liz Culkin had quite a finish after an all right start. She her final three games 226, 228, and 245 on her way to finishing at plus 102. Sydney Brummett, we mentioned her with the strong start, 776 out of the gates, but 155, 163, and 170 to finish to get to plus 100. She sits in fourth place. Diana Zavyalova, a big 279 in the finale to get to plus 90. She is tied with Taylor Boltice at plus 90 as well. Taylor finished with 246. So they are in fifth and sixth place. Valerie Bercier plus 44. So a bit of a drop between that tie for fifth and seventh place. So a bit of about 46 pins, the difference there. Birgit Norreichs in eighth place plus 38. Wendy Barter Jimenez plus 29. And then Marissa Carey, member of Junior Team USA, past collegiate standout at Indiana Tech as well, rounds out the top 10 plus 21. A total of 14 players of the 35 on the squad, averaging 200 or better through the first 8 games. So a little bit lower scoring pace than we may have originally suspected. But with that, let's bring in another member of our Bowl TV crew. Joining us on site from Double Decker Lanes, Curtis Von Kruger. Let's bring him in.
Aaron, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. We're rolling.
Yeah, you were just talking about scoring pace, and I think it caught a lot of people off guard here. We were expecting the scores to be a little higher than they were this previous round, but the transition definitely hit like a brick house. Like you're running into a brick wall there. A lot of players had really great success with urethane early. And then once that, you could stay in there with urethane the first 4 or 5 games pretty much. But when you had to make that jump in, it was hard for a lot of the players to kind of see the shape they needed to get when they went back to maybe something with a reactive cover stock. Obviously, we saw Sydney Brummett struggle with this. Jumped out to over 200 over, and then toward the end of the block, you could see that the struggles started to sink in there as it became harder to throw urethane, and then you had to make the switch. Erin McCarthy had a similar disposition as well. Both of them had a great block. It's the kind of blocks that you expect. You're going to have hopefully your 240s, 250s, 260s. But you can't get upset and you can't lose focus when you get that 160 or 170. So both players are happy with how they performed. But a player that I was really impressed with, Cherie Tan, obviously in the lead right now. There's a player who had a very rough start to her season last week, because this is only their second tournament they'll bowl. Really struggled in that first block, if you remember, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
We saw her almost as if she just came to life before our very eyes, and ended up, even though she buried herself pretty good in that first block last week in Spokane, she almost made the cut. She almost came all the way back to really make herself competitive. So you could see that she knocked off the rust, and she really kind of put on a show, and a really solid block from Cherie. So right now she's right here in front of me. She's rooting on her fellow Singapore teammates here, Shayna Ung and Daphne Tan right here. But you got to see the competitive nature of Singapore right off the bat, Aaron. They're coming out and making a statement this week already at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, this is certainly something we kind of expected as well from them, just knowing the amount of success they've had in And, in limited time on the PWBA tour, we talked a lot about it last week, but 5 out of the 6 players who were part of this Team Singapore contingent coming out here, who will eventually compete at the World Championships as well in November, have won titles on the PWBA tour, have found their way to the winner's circle, and all 6 have made shows at majors. So certainly no strangers at all to this type of atmosphere, this type of setting, these type of conditions. So the competition and whether or not, how quickly they were going to get into it was really the biggest question for, I felt for them and just talking to them about it. And it looks like, they got that one event underneath their belts already. New Wave Fen finishing in 5th place, rolling that 300 in her final game at Spokane. 3 of the players making the top 12. So I think, that momentum is going to be a very quick thing for them. And I would not be surprised whatsoever if at the end of the week, when we had those 5 players advancing to the CBS Sports Network show, if 1 or 2 of them happen to be representing that team when they're not competing on the PWBA tour.
Yeah, these players are absolutely aware of what Singapore is doing. And they know when they come out on tour, they're taking up spots. They're taking checks. They're taking final spots, and they're going to make it to the step ladder eventually. I think it was a really smart move on their part to realize, hey, wait a minute, let's go to Spokane first, get a little run time, and get back in that competition mindset. Fine-tune some of the equipment we're going to bring to the table, and then ultimately that'll help us get prepared for when we go into the USWO. Obviously, they were planning on bowling this before the $100,000 announcement, but you've got to imagine that they've even become more focused and dedicated and determined, if that's possible, Aaron, if that's possible, to try to take home that big check. But just like with everybody else, the prestige of winning this tournament for an international player to bring this major home is something that they would cherish and be heralded for when they make their trip back to Singapore.
Yeah, I do have a fun note about that I'm going to pull up here in just a second. We'll go back to full screen, but Curtis and I we'll be hanging out with you good folks here throughout the course of the block. Emil Williams Jr. will be back on the call as well. But I believe if you look back in the histories of the U.S. Women's Open, I think we have to go all the way back to 1982, the last time an international player actually took home the title.
Was that person from Australia?
She was not.
Oh, no.
I see who you were thinking. And Carol Giannotti is a major champion on the PWBA tour, having won the Queens.
She did not. Oh, it was Queens, not the Open. My bad. Who we got, though? Who we got, Aaron?
I'm rummaging through my already started TV notes to see if I have included it. 1982, Japan's Shinobu Satoa was actually the only international champion at the U.S. Women's Open.
Oh, man.
We have to go back to 82, but despite the success we've seen on tour from the international players, looking at the Queens, specifically over the past couple of years, even going back to 2019, it was a completely international show, which Sasha Kovalova ended up winning. And there's been players to contend, but the title has remained on the side of players representing the United States. Liz Johnson winning 6 of those in between that time. So, Liz has kind of held it down for a couple of years, but more recently, Liz Culkin, Danielle McEwen.
Yeah, she beat Tanya.
19,
she beat the number 1 seed, an international player, in Tanya Ramapour, excuse me. So you can see that they're close. They're close, and this international competition just gets stiffer and stiffer. But, America's still just defending their home turf here.
A few comments in the Bowl TV chat. Cara Honeychurch did win quite a few things, but the U.S. Women's Open was not one of them. But that would have been another good guess because it seemed like Kara won just about everything in the couple of years she was on tour.
Yeah, there's a bowler that there's a bowler that would have made some noise. I mean, when the tour went off in 2004, she was literally winning. I mean, she had multiple titles that year alone, and had a huge 2003 season as well. So it's always interesting to think about those hypotheticals. You got to imagine she could have very well easily won a U.S. Open in that time frame had things continued.
And folks, one of the things we do have available this week as we're watching the action, as we mentioned, we do have every pair available to watch on BowlTV.com. So if you're visiting for the first time, you can kind of go through the navigation. If you're watching on a desktop, it's below the video, so you can see USWO 13 through 16, 17 through 20. It'll have this two-pair setup just like this across the house, so you can follow your favorite athletes for each and every game. And then if you're watching on mobile, in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a little 4-box window pane. If you click on that, that'll take you to the channel navigation. You'll see the same options to be able to select the players you want to watch throughout the course of competition. We do have our one commentary channel, which is available as well. That's what you're watching right now. If you're on the main page of BowlTV.com, or if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. So we are here for game number 1 on all platforms. Once we get into game 2, though, B Squad here, that's when we're going to be heading over exclusively to BowlTV.com. So that's when you got to head over, pick up your subscription today to watch all the qualifying, all the match play here at the U.S. Women's Open. You can pick up an event ticket just to watch the live action all the way up and through Monday for $8.95. That's, once again, all the qualifying, all the match play. You can pick up a monthly recurring subscription for $9.95, which gets you not only the live action, but it gets you archived events in case you miss anything, and full access to BowlTV.com, so the on-demand content as well. $79.95 is the cost for an annual recurring subscription. You get the same access as the monthly. It's just in an annual form. So you look month to month, it's a little bit cheaper that way. $79.95 for that. The best way to support the PWBA Tour. Transaction fees do apply for all 3. And when you're not over at BowlTV.com, when you're looking for more information about this great event, you can go to a couple of different websites. You can head on over to PWBA.com, of course, the home of the PWBA Tour, as well as bowl.com/US Women's Open. You'll be able to find the roster, the pairings, the oil patterns. We got so many of them. We got 4 of them this week. The prize fund, the topography reports as well. So the same things that the ball reps are using out there, the players are looking at, all available at your fingertips. Of course, the standings and live scoring as well. Another great option this week from Double Decker Lanes. You're able to follow the scores through live scoring to keep an eye on your favorite players as they progress through the house as well when you're not watching them, or if you want to catch something else, but you still want to keep an eye on that player. Unless you got like a cool 6 or 7 screen setup that you're watching from as well, then you're doing things right for sure if you got that. So I salute the folks who have that all set up. I think that's the next edition here for the Bowl TV studio. Just one massive video panel screen to be able to watch them all come together.
I wish it looked like that video panel screen that Bruce Wayne put together in the Dark Knight to track all the cell phones.
That was pretty fancy technology right there. Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Here's my pick right here. One of my I mean, it's hard to call her a dark horse because she's pretty darn good, and we know that. But Stephanie Johnson, I really like how she's going to match up. She's going trying to get off to a quick start here. 230, 234 wouldn't break her heart at there, Aaron Smith.
No, not at all. And she gets that first hit in the 10th, so already into the 220s. She'll see if she can get one more. Shayna Ung. We talked about the different strategies on this 36-foot pattern. We see Stephanie going with the reactive, creating a little bit of shape. Now we got Shayna using urethane going a little more direct, but both of them finding a bunch of strikes here in the early going. So Certainly something to keep an eye out for. Once again, we kind of talked about with Sydney Brummett. She probably stayed in urethane longer than most everybody, it felt like, especially on the right side. And she was able to get it to, I believe, plus 212 was her highest point. Unfortunately, she fell back to the field, ended up at plus 100 when it was all said and done. But we know you can hang on to urethane for a couple games into this block. We know you can do that, and it can work. As we see Shayna kick off her 10th frame, and she is going to add one more.
Yeah, it's definitely. I really think that urethane will stick around until about the 4th or 5th game, and then it's once it's there and everything's kind of started to carry down and burn up inside of you with people who are throwing reactive, it starts to get really, really difficult to play that line. Really strong finish here for Stephanie Johnson. Going to put her in the 230s already. Really nice start here to her tournament, and I like how she's playing these lanes. It'll be a little more consistent for her. And if you can get that angle, if you can get the ball through the front part of the lane and get it to read correctly, man, you can put some strikes together. Another nice shot there by Shayna. Wow. Can't hate that right there, Aaron.
Cannot into the 250s. She goes.
Where she'll stop, nobody knows.
Nicely done. Some good teamwork there on that rhyme.
I like it.
Some other big scores throughout the house. Daria Payuk going to be in the 250s, 258 her max score. Cannon Pluhowski going to be in the 220s.
A rough start here for Deandra. A spackling of opens here in her first game, and as we've unfortunately seen, Shayna kind of taking was a little fishing a little bit inside there with her fill shot, just to kind of see what was happening with it. It's good. That's a smart strategy there, Aaron. Another tough break there for Deandra. Pocket 4-9, little high, but definitely could have carried just as easily as at 4-9. So she's going to find herself most likely in the $130. So she's going to be starting way behind the head pin, if you will. Uh-oh. We have a guest appearance in our chat here, Aaron Smith. Looks like Stephanie Johnson is multitasking. Hey, Chris. Hope you're doing all right, CJ. Good start there for Stephanie, as you can see. Never complain with a 234. Angie Ramirez, man, this is just a veritable who's who in here.
We even have Nick Hoagland offering to answer questions about the oil patterns this week as our oil pattern guru.
Can you answer philosophical questions like what should I do with my life, Nick Hoagland?
I'm not sure if he can help with that, but if you have a question about this brand new lane surface and its pattern testing, perhaps you can jump into that. But if I was a competitor this week and I saw Nick Hoagland, I would just ask him, how dare you? These conditions at the U.S. Women's Open, Nick, always so tricky.
How dare you, sir?
Of course, we say this all in fun because Nick Hoagland's our buddy.
Yes, he is.
I'd like to give him a hard time because he's the lane guy, he's the pattern guy, but really does a phenomenal job each and every week out here on the PWBA Tour, offering challenging, exciting lane patterns to continually test the competitors out here each and every week.
He's not going to just hand you that trophy, right?
You got to earn it for sure.
You got to earn it, and you're gonna once you get through this gauntlet, you'll definitely have felt as though you have earned every bit of that trophy and green jacket. So thanks, Nick. And you know what, Nick, you make it fun for us to watch. You make us have to think about the strategy and how things are gonna kind of develop over a tournament, and that's half the fun. You know, that's half the fun out here. Yeah, the Bowlers did have a really tough time in this first round, and we saw the first game provide a lot of difficulty for players in the first squad as well. Again, this Angie raises her hand. Angie, would you agree that kind of put you on the spot here? It played a lot more difficult than we expected it to, based off of what we saw in practice.
Well, folks, we have concluded game number 1 here on our featured pair, which does mean we are going to take a quick reset here on BowlTV.com to get ready for game 2 and the rest of round 1 of qualifying for our B squad competitors here at the 2021 U.S. Women's Open. That does mean for the folks who have been watching on Facebook and YouTube, we will be saying goodbye for right now. So we hope you head on over to BowlTV.com, pick up a subscription to watch all the qualifying, all the match play here at the 2021 USWO leading up to the CBS Sports Network Finals. Once again, 3 different price points to come in at as well. You have the event ticket to watch all the live action, $8.95, a monthly recurring subscription, $9.95, and an annual recurring subscription, $79.95. Transaction fees do apply. But we hope to see you over here. Join the Bowl TV chat community. Win some prizes throughout the week, too, as we do have giveaways here on Bowl TV each and every round. But, folks, we'll be right back. Game 2 coming up next. B Squad Round 1, 2021 USWO coming up next.